Hey, this is Jeremy with Chronulus. I wanted to give you a little demo today of what I've been working on this week. I think I've been on a Thursday cadence of launching some videos with new features. Today this is a little bit late, but I'm still on a development branch, but I've made some good progress this week getting access to files through Claude. So I think before I mentioned that Claude had trouble passing images to our Chronulus agent. The file system tool and the ability to drop images into Claude Desktop. Basically, what Claude does is it tries to take those images and turn those into text and then pass those on, and that's just really inefficient. So the workaround I've come up with for the moment is to utilize the file system server. So there's lots of other servers out there, MCP servers or extensions for Claude. This one's the file system. It basically adds a few sets of tools for basically listing files in different directories, searching for files and things like that. And basically once you set it up, you kind of give it a specific location on your computer that's safe, that you want to give Claude access to, and you can it kind of just uses it as a sandbox, or an area, kind of a workspace area that you've designated to Claude to utilize. So in this example, basically what I've done, I've taken a couple of different shoes off of a local running shoe company, Brooklyn Running Company. The idea here being, maybe there's a merchandiser at Brooklyn Running Company who's really interested in understanding how many shoes to purchase for the next year or for a specific time frame. Lots of different running shoes have older versions, and then they make some updates, and the newer version is slightly different. Sometimes people like that, sometimes people don't. This particular shoe, the New Balance, it's on version 14, so it seems pretty popular. I have a pair of these from previous versions. And the running company also has an older version of that shoe, the V13, to kind of compare against. So basically what I've done is I've taken photos and descriptions from both of those shoes and dropped those into folders on my laptop. So V13 and V14, just taken some, actually just saved the images, the product images, a few of those here, along with a snapshot, just a screen grab of the product information here. So that's what's in the product info. If we look at that, pull that over here so you can see it. So it's just one-to-one snapshot of what's on the screen, on the browser. And then I've also just taken from the About section on the website, put that into our store as text. So you can see that here. Just a description of Brooklyn Running Company. And because it's in the folder that I've designated to Claude to be able to access, basically what I can do is I can go into Claude Desktop and just describe what I wanted to do. So here I've written out a little prompt at the beginning talking about the fact that we have this New Balance folder here and describing how I've laid it out, just like I described to you. I've made up an example here saying in the best week last year, we sold at most 22 pairs of the V13 in total across all of our locations. And then I go in and I basically ask Claude to create a forecast using Chronulus on a weekly basis for the V14. So thinking of how the V13 sold this last year, let's just try to figure out how many we're going to sell this year for the V14. The really nice thing here, though, is that we're able to now pass those images, all of those images, into Chronulus, so it can kind of create a comparison of the images. So in terms of like styling and fit, and then also taking in consideration kind of the overall number of previous shoes that were sold. The final thing here is, because we have this about store TXT, you could imagine someone coming in and utilizing the same prompt over lots of different types of shoes, right? So keeping the same store information in a text file, or maybe even laying out directories in a different way, and really just sort of estimating demand for new products based off of older versions and sales that have been already observed in the past for the older versions. So I think that's a pretty interesting use case for how to tie in Chronulus and Claude and create a nice useful workflow on your local machine. And the last thing here is I've asked Claude to set up a reusable session and agent. So if you don't do this, sometimes Claude will try to create a separate agent for every single item that you want to forecast, and that's a little bit inefficient. So here we're just saying, hey, really distill down the pieces of the use case for the session, so that's reusable, and then create the agent in such a way that we can basically feed in neighborhood information directly as an input data piece, and basically create a reusable data model that we can put different inputs in for each of our shoes or each of our locations that we're going to use this on. So Claude did that. Basically what it did, it went down. It looked first at the local file system, saw that I have this place called AI Workspace, looked at that, looked at the files there, found all of these files under the New Balance folder, which is what I told it about. Read my store information, our store TXT here, found that information. It used this tool called get file info to basically inspect the files and understand the sizes and whether or not the file is actually a file or a directory, if it has permissions to access the file, those sorts of things. And then after it inspected the image files, I went down, created a Chronulus session. So it broke out what we told it about our use case, created the situation and task for the agent, and then finally it came down and created the first agent here. So this is pretty cool. Now it's taking as input data, it's created a location. So here it's basically going to run the forecast for Park Slope, which is one of the two locations where Brooklyn Running Company has a retail outlet here in Brooklyn. It also took in images for the new model, which is the V14, as image types, and then I included previous model images from the V13. So it's pretty smart. It actually labeled these correctly here and created our data model below, describing what each of those images actually pertain to based off of our directory structure. And then from Chronulus we get back a forecast. So Chronulus did its part. Then what we did, or what Claude did here, is it took that agent that we created, we specified up here, and it's reused it with different inputs. So now it's taken the Williamsburg location, and the same files are coming through, being fed through to that. And then Chronulus is giving us back another forecast for the Williamsburg location. Like we saw last week, we can now rescale the forecast. So here we've given Claude this idea that there were a total of 22 pairs of the previous generation sold across both of our locations. And so Claude has basically taken that and just decided that the Park Slope location, I think this is what it's, I believe this is the Park Slope location, should be allocated about 14 of those total pairs. Obviously, if you actually worked at this store, you know what the real numbers are, so you could just plug these in yourself. But just assuming that Park Slope sells a few more than Williamsburg, that's what it's allocated here. So this is taking the the 1 to 0 forecast factors and scaling those up to see what our actual units would look like at each of those store locations. And finally, Claude has taken that and plotted it out for us. So we can see our forecast over the next year, with the Williamsburg being the lower demand here, the green line, the purple line being Park Slope, and then the orange line being the total between all of those stores. Claude came out and basically analyzed the explanation and forecast that Chronulus gave us, and has given us some like key findings from that, which is interesting. It also took the image analysis that Chronulus did, the analysis that it baked into the forecast explanation, and is kind of elaborating on that here for us as well. The last thing that I did, I guess it even asked us here too. So the last thing that we can do here is actually just save our forecast results out to disk as well, or out to the laptop. So I just asked Claude to do that, and I had already created a forecast results folder here. Claude could have done that for us as well, but I just asked it to save the forecast results for both locations out to that folder. So it did that. It put the Williamsburg location forecast in a separate CSV. And then you can see that here, opening up in numbers. And it saved an explanation for each location as well. So this is the explanation that comes straight out of Chronulus. And then Claude decided, here at the end, you can see now I'll create a combined explanation file with summary insights. So I didn't really ask for Claude to do this, but it was interesting that it kind of took the initiative. It took both the saved results and it combined those together into a combined forecast CSV, and it also took the explanation and combined it together into a forecast summary text. So it's added a lot more details here in terms of the original explanation that came out of Chronulus, then added its own insights and on top of it as well. So pretty cool that Claude did that for us. So that's it for this. Thought it'd be interesting to get this out to you guys so you can start using image files directly in Chronulus. I have a little bit more work to do on this, so like you saw up here, this is still on a development branch, still using Chronulus Agents Dev. Hope to get you more information and more access to this later next week or early next week. So thanks for watching.